I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't hear anything that's going on. I don't know if it was supposed to be muted. Is it possible to unmute so that we can hear?
The language, I'm not going to be able to respond to it today.
Thank you.
My goal, like I shared with you all, my biggest goal is to make sure that we get the financial piece done. However, what I can do is I can notice it and turn us back on to, like, if you all want to, I can do something virtually. Let me see the language that you have.
Sure.
And then,
So, and not having seen what you have.
yeah,
probably some of it.
there
no,
might be
mine is
some-
just literally, I will read it to you as it relates to the, mine is, thank you.
So this is proposal language for beginning next year rather than implementing right now.
Yeah, oh yeah, nothing could be implemented now, yeah.
So, but beginning next year that we would accept 17 to 18 years of service. So it would stop at 17, 18 years of service. Anything past that point would not be
You
recognized.
mean school year experience through the 20, you said 17, 18 years of experience,
2017, 20.
18.
So going back that 4 years, whatever.
All right, I'll consider this. Let me tell you what I said in here.
Sure, yeah.
Because all I did was I wanted to be careful because we said we would do it together. And what I said was Leon County Teachers Association and the Leon County School Board agreed to craft language that will address honoring upon hire the number of verified teaching years of experience when joining the school board. This will assist with concerns of new hires potentially salaried higher on the salary schedule than teachers with the same service time already currently working in the system. Because that's the issue. So I said we would do that because we have open book. So I didn't realize you were gonna bring language today. I will take it, but I would like for us to look at.
Do you have a copy of the?
Oh yeah, I'll give it to you. Yeah, it's on the MOU because I thought when you all said we want this to be on there too to show our members that we're actually doing it. I put it on here. I purchased it too. So what I did was, for the good of the order, for those who are watching or not watching, because this could be, people are like, what? What I did was I laid out exactly what the district what the district was given based on language from, DOE and statute and all that, okay? And then, I just kind of went through like what was non-negotiable, which was the 80%, which was negotiable, blah, blah, combination. And then at the very end, where is what we talked about specific, I mean, we talked about all these things, but the last bullet is where we see each full-time teacher receives no less than $3,000. And that's in combination with the 20%, you know, if they get the 550, we'll come in and make them whole with the 3,000. And that's what I put there. And then I know that we talked about, we wanted to make sure that people knew that we had talked about the leapfrog, and that is a priority, for lack of a better phrase. So I added that caveat at the bottom so that when you all use it for ratification, I see a couple of grammatical errors on the page, that people could see that we did discuss it. So that's what I did.
So for the purposes of this document, everything that is part of 1, 2, and 3, the bold underline, are the things that have to happen according to state statute.
Yeah,
Okay, and then the last bold underline down indicates what we're gonna do moving forward with the additional monies. However, question that I have is, when it says shall receive no less than $3,000, is this intent to be changing on a 7.5-hour day, add $3,000 to the base salary?
yes, because 8.5 hours is not guaranteed every year.
And that's what I wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that when this is
Sure,
based off of a 7.5-hour day.
sure,
That if someone does have an 8.5-hour day, they're gonna receive more than the 3,000, because that would be because it's based off of the hourly rate.
right, because it's changing their base salary. That's the other thing. So when it changes your base, if your hours increase, of course.
Right.
But it's going to the base, right? Okay.
And for some individuals that do not work the full 7.5 hours, that would then reflect that it would not be the $3,000 until they work the 7.5-hour day.
Well, that's what we have to talk about.
Yeah,
because
because that's full-time, it
That's
says
what
full-time.
Yeah, it does say full-time, so
Full-time
full-time
is
is anything, yeah, full-time, but no, I think full-time is full-time. We guarantee 7.5, but I think full-time is not 7, like, it is automatically full-time, but I think 3.76 is half-time. Okay, anything, I think it's 6 point,
Because benefits kick in after a certain number of hours.
yeah, I think,
After-
let me
Nice
check that,
to
because it is full-time, but we guarantee 7.5. But what I don't wanna do is tell you it has to be, I think it could be like 6 point something hours. I just wanna make sure I'm not excluding those people that would consider to be full-time.
So then the question that I have is, this kind of goes back to then changing hourly rate. So if someone has 6.7 hours, $3,000 is added to the base salary rate.
But then Kim is bringing everybody up to 7.5 to do this, so it is, she used 7.5 as a base, so just go from 7.5.
That's-
Yeah, she had to do
I
it,
just wanna
with
make
your
sure we're
teacher, no, you're right.
communicating this.
You're right, 7.5 is where she had to work on. She brought everybody up to 7.5, or either brought everybody down to 7.5. Because it's based on our contract. Okay.
You also, so as far as the language for I think the portion that we have here, the second piece was the one that we really wanted. Beginning in January 2021, LCTA and LCS agreed to address salary. To just, once we come out of the legislative session, whatever the things that are taking place that on that second semester part, if things are in a better place than they were, or whatever it is, that we would have an opportunity to sit down and talk.
Okay,
This
so-
kind of goes along with the issue of not only addressing this through language with the, for lack of a better word, leapfrogging, which we'll have to explain, which we've kind of done through the language portion, but also dealing with some issues that we still have in place because of past practices that could then be some longevity things we might be able to look at.
Okay, I'm gonna be very honest, Scott. I don't wanna say January. That's not realistic, because February is when we do the FTE, is what they're based off of. I don't wanna do anything prior to that. January is coming back off of the holidays and getting opening, and I don't know where we will be with COVID and with numbers and reopening. I wanna be very careful, so I would prefer to do either February or March, because we have 2 other bargaining units that have not done anything. And so but teachers are our priority, and so we're working with that. So I don't wanna say January we're gonna reopen. That's just for me. I prefer to say February, March. I have gotta have some time for Kim to
We
work
can
with.
split the difference with you in February. If you want March, you want January, we go February.
Yeah.
we're both-
Well, I'd like for us, if we can look at selecting a date, not today.
Mhm.
I would just prefer not to, I know spring we're reopening, period. We have a full book language. I don't wanna tie myself into saying January right now. I'm not opposed to saying February, but I would prefer that we say and we can agree to a date. I just know that FTE is in February, is what they're waiting on to see. And I know we won't have any information if FTE is in February. And then Kim being able to process that, what the state's gonna do, that February to me is out, because we never get back information right away. She may get phone calls and be able to have conversations, but I would much rather look at March. I don't know, I would like to speak to her about it too.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's best when it comes to a situation, you still meet in February and you're really like to turn around and say, yeah, we do have to get the final stuff in
Okay.
March.
All right, well, I'll look at my calendar, I'll be honest, I have 2 other units. And those 2 other units together are many more people than just LCTA. I've gotta work with those units too.
Even that first day, it's just.
Sure.
It could be a concept of what we're doing right now, a very small group between the two of us, to do something like that.
Okay,
And
I'll
before we had
find-
the FTE this time, we were able to get an understanding and have a conversation.
prior, right,
And that's all that this is about, is beginning the conversation, take a look at it, because there were already some projections and some things that were thought by, you guys, so we were able to talk.
yeah, and we'll be always willing to come back. I can tell you right now, this is, for us to be able to do this is, from my background and who I am as an individual, this is a blessing. This is a huge blessing, and that's my hope for all the teachers who are gonna be recipients of it. But I dare say that we still have people who are doing work that normally other people don't wanna do. We have gotta make sure that we're fair with our time and with our energy, our financial resources, looking at all of the people who help make our school system run. And we're gonna be looking for opportunities to get. So I need to make sure that I'm including those as we look at our funding, our resources. We've got support staff who are doing feeding tubes and changing diapers and issuing medications, and we've got that where teachers won't even touch, that we have people who are willing to support our students in our classrooms. So I wanna make sure I'm fair, that we will come back, but I can't guarantee there's gonna be any more funds available to do anything in addition to what the district has done now. But we can have a conversation. So I will go as far as to say that. Scott, would you like me to say based on 7.5 hour day? For the last bullet,
Yes.
okay? I'll have that added. And then I wanna add, an article, the Leon County Teachers Association, because I have an article in front of the Leon County School Board, it just doesn't balance unless I put that there.
So, and procedure wise, we're just gonna take this and we're gonna be making counters next time we meet.
We're making counters with what? The 3,000?
No, this is stuff that you're adding in right now.
Oh, no, I'm gonna go get it now. I mean, I thought, unless you want me to take the statement out.
You know what?
I thought today was signing this, so you all could get it.
We have not, this is the first time we're seeing that part though, so.
No, I can take it off. It doesn't have to be something on the MOU. I thought you all just said you wanted to be able to show.
You know,
Uh-huh,
I recommend we take a 5-minute caucus.
okay, but let me just make sure I'm understanding. I thought today's meeting was for you all to say you were gonna be signing to get this so that we can get going. I only added that portion of it, but if you're not pleased with that, I can take it off altogether and we can come back and talk about what the language part looks like in terms of dealing with the leapfrog. It doesn't have to be on here,
Let's take a 5-minute caucus.
okay? Because I wanted to make, yeah, that's fine. I can go out because it's just me. and, okay, so Ms. Banks is here, and, what I did was I made the editorial change based on what you all asked. I added at the last bullet for your review, each full-time teacher receives no less than $3,000 salary increase combined with the state teacher allocation based on 7.5-hour day. As well as I made the adjustment to the language at the bottom that we talked about, using what Kim recommended. The Leon County Teachers Association and the Leon County School Board agreed to craft language that will address honoring upon hire, the number of verified teaching years of experience when joining the school board. This will assist with new hires financially surpassing a teacher with the same years of teaching experience already employed in the district. Okay? Those are the two things that I wanted to clear up. I added 2 articles, and then I wanted to clear up using the word that you shared. And then I told them we're open, but I don't feel comfortable with that date because we're looking at February FTE. So I did not want to agree to a date for meeting until we have kind of had an idea. Thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Until we had an idea as to what, because this right here is the district doesn't have additional funds to come back and look at.
We won't know really until session what they're doing.
Yeah. So, and I didn't want to put a date, but Mr. Dale shared that it could be a conversation, kind of opening, beginning, back on the 200 units that we were still working with. And then, so I wanted you all to take that in for consideration, the MOU, which deals with the money per our discussion in our small group sessions.
And so the MOU, in terms, one of the things that was going to be looked into was how it was going to be paid out, because the concern was to spread it over whatever remaining would increase it and then decrease it when people started next year, so that the monies would go back and to the beginning of the school year, and that there would be a retroactive, I guess, in the first paycheck to account for the beginning of the school year, so that the salary would be consistent moving forward. So meaning any monies that were a part of August, September, and October that paid out in November, that it would then be paid in November for what those monies were, and then it would be the same amount December, January, February, March moving forward. So what information do we have on that?
Really, so
We started the conversation yesterday. I want to make sure we're clear for the daily order of people who are watching. We don't use the word retro because people assume that that means they're getting a separate check, and that upsets quite a few people. What I hear you saying is monies that were owed based on us ratifying this agreement that would be paid out to teachers, whatever the money was given to them in August and September, October, whenever we're able to pay it out, they would get it on one check, and then the other pays would be leveled out. We started talking about that yesterday in our meeting. We don't have that.
I think the issue is it takes us longer to actually implement it that way. It takes us longer on the input side to do it that way. So we might be able to, but I think we're pushing out when it would be paid out longer. So like, I think there's pros and cons to both of it. We can like push through and get our HR staff and payroll staff to like try to get it to where like get it input and just let it pay out over the term of the contract, which is like kind of skyward standard. Or we
That's the
can,
easiest.
or we can try to get payroll to calculate out what should have been prepaid and get that paid out and then just let the rest, like, it's gonna take a longer time for payroll to do it. So that's the whole issue. We can try to get it in quicker and get it out to our people quicker, or we can take longer. And I know it's confusing. I mean, anytime we mess around with pay, it's always confusing.
It may be something on one end that it may take longer at the beginning to get it out, but just the confusion that you're gonna get starting next year, why is that increased? They're gonna instantly think, wait a minute, my checks were higher last year, what happened to this year? So I don't know.
And we always get a little bit of that because we get that when people change from 8.5 to 7.5. We always get a lot of it because there's so many things like supplements change,
Yeah.
all kinds of things change. So we get a lot of questions about their checks but
to calculate the, for lack of a better phrase, money's owed already or money's already earned, Dina Howell has to go in and her team has to want to do something separate in order to calculate that amount and enter that. Then HR would then have to enter that in and then come back through and enter out the remaining money. The issue is too, all teachers are on a different salary. it's not like every teacher that's in 2 years is on 36,222, where we could go, well, we know this is gonna be the amount for August for all these people. Every teacher's on different, so every teacher has to be treated like they're their own island. And as a result, that's even more, because if they're in split positions, but it's more than what it, but I understand from both ends, being in HR and being on the side of answering the phones and going, oh, okay, now I understand. As opposed to,
Well, I think the other part of it too is this is actually very complicated for us on our side because we're kind of messing around with 3 different pots of money. We have the district's money, we have the 80% and the 20%.
Yeah.
And we're having to track all this stuff for DO. It's just, I think the more we do that, we have to like try to work around the system, the more difficult it's gonna be.
Right.
And so really the system is set up to like put it in and let it pay out over the term of the contract. Like that's the easiest way for us to manage it all. I'm just concerned.
Especially
that
with
the
people
more
who
that we
split,
do.
it was paid out of federal monies, I mean, monitoring that, like there's some people's funds that are coming from different, so I'll keeping track of all of that. But that's just, I mean, Kim and I can have a conversation, we can talk on Monday, I can come back, but the easiest thing to do and the quickest thing to do is to drop it in and let it pay out, because everybody's getting the same amount. But when you start saying, I want what's owed now, and then come back and, because we're trying to keep people from being confused, that's about teaching. We can always message that. And we can come together with a statement. We could draft something, Kim and Rebecca and Scott and Mike, we could draft it and say, this is how the system works, this is how we're paying it. We can work through our building rights, we can work however, but we can come back and have a conversation on Monday. That's fine.
I'm just listening to pros and cons.
It's just gonna be very-
We're in agreement trying to get some type of statement how this is gonna be a matter with how we communicate.
Sure, I'm in agreement, yeah,
I think that's a reasonable
yeah,
thing, is saying, just gotta make sure it's informed and we might have to do it.
multiple
Now-
times, yeah.
And then again at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, well,
You know,
100% over the summer and stuff, because when they get that July check and then they get August.
It's always confusing, it's
Right.
always confusing, so we definitely can have that discussion. And write the statement, we've done that before. Now, Scott, you said you had some other language, I have to.
First one is.
Oh, careful.
Get that piece. That's okay, we don't need to turn out to them. So the first piece is about working towards early release Wednesdays in the calendar and making sure that we look for additional planning time. And then the second portion of that talks about November 2nd, is codifying that no mandatory school-wide meetings, choose your own adventure for teachers. And because a number of the teachers did not get the 4 pre-planning days that were independent because it wasn't shared out.
We also hadn't ratified those, Scott, we hadn't even done the whole, you know what I mean, like, we had only talked about it.
But
Okay.
it's a part of the MOU and it's been ratified.
No, I'm talking about though, when you said they didn't get it, it wasn't done on purpose, we had not formally
I
shared,
understand.
okay, I wanna make sure
But
I
the
say that.
intent was, and
Okay.
not saying that there was anything that was nefariously done, it's just that the intent is there, it's part of the ratified document, people didn't get it. And those 4 planning days of October 30th, November 2nd, January 15th, and April 5th would be those 4 independent planning days that those teachers could then have.
Okay, I'll take this into consideration, compensatory time,
Compensatory time looks at the things that people are being asked to do, some of the things that are beyond the contractual day, requiring, for the completion of IEPs for our ESC students that are beyond the 7.5-hour day. We try to look for some ways to recognize the time that it takes to do those things, as well as the compensatory time shall not. Let's see. Down below, compensatory time carries over from year to year and carries to another school if a teacher transfers, so that therefore all the time that people are working right now, that they're giving over and beyond, that they can earn the compensation time for it. compensatory time for, that they would be able to have that for next year as well. And then in use of it, that as we kind of discussed, when someone needs to take some time, or because of our COVID and different things we're dealing with right now, teachers have the option of using comp time in lieu of sick leave. Every effort will be made to accrue such time as requested by the teacher. Looking for ways to make sure that we understand that as students start to come back to the school sites during the second 9 weeks, that there's a chance that there might be more folks that already have had to retreat, that they would have to retreat again. And just looking for different ways to recognize the work that the teachers are doing.
Okay, I'll take that into consideration. We'll provide a calendar. So then what I'll do is on Monday, it'll be, more than likely, it'll be well, I can't even confirm it'll be, we'll do Monday. Does Monday work for you all? And Rebecca and Kim, I'm just thinking, we pulled you all out, so I'm thinking maybe we should do something virtually. So that you would, I mean, you know, what's your planning like?
Like 1 to 2.
So if we were able to at least use some of that, or if not, I mean, it's up to you. I'm just trying to keep, because you have to do plans and things and leave your classroom, so I'm trying to keep that down. So would you prefer to do after school, like 3?
Yes.
Okay.
And Monday we should have gender review, right?
Oh, I have a gender review at 3 o'clock, so it'll have to be earlier. And I
Because
have,
you want to get into the agenda review, right?
yeah, I would like to get to the agenda review. You all tell me a time. I will make myself flexible.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Afternoon's better for both of us, so we can get our day started.
1 o'clock? Okay, I'll organize it and then have Veronica reach out. I just wanna make sure though, would you all prefer Kim and Rebecca? Because you all have the least flexibility to do it via Zoom or to do it via, do you wanna come? It's up to you. I don't wanna make you have to, because the 2 of you are in a.
It would be the same way for me and either way. I'd have to plan it out virtually anyway, so it's the same.
I'm gonna be doing signatures anyway.
Okay, I'll make sure it's in person then. And we'll notify you of the time and where. I mean, 1 o'clock, but where, location, okay? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Have a good day, everybody.
Wow.
Have fun with this.
Y'all make me want to play.
I'm going to church and I'm going to.
For the folks that are here real quick, just want to make sure we're going to come back and we're going to meet again on Monday. Monday, they're going to take a look at some of the planning days. We've asked for all the planning days that are up until the end of the school year to be independent planning days. No required trainings, things like that, because people need some time. We've also put some language forth for half-day Wednesdays so that that would be additional time for folks to be able to get some things done, whether or not that's going to be accepted. We're continually looking for ways for planning to be increased because we know the amount of time that people are putting into the work that they're doing. The other portion of it was to make sure that we come back in the second semester to address additional monies, meaning that we know that we're right now dealing with the FTE count and that we have some issues with the pandemic that are impacting the school system. So we want to be thoughtful about it, but we do want to make sure that we come back and have those conversations at a later time. And then the last piece was the compensatory time, that we want to make sure that comp time in not having some of the monies and things that we want to make sure we do for whether it's our ESC teachers, our Title I's, the things that we're still focusing on, the things that we're still talking about, that we're going to be addressing in full book,
that this comp time would be something that you would be allowed to use for sick leave, and that it would carry over from year to year so that you could start the school year with your comp time as well, because everyone's putting a lot of time in at their school sites. So with those three things, the money portion of it is, we're talking about the salary. The salary piece is we have a mandatory 80% that has to go to everyone that makes less than the 47.5. That would be individuals that 80% ends up being $4.2 million basically. And the state, this is the state now, this is not LCTA or Leon County Schools, this is what the legislature did. The additional $1 million for the 20% that do not fall under that. And they also have to be classroom teachers. So if you were a guidance counselor, a media specialist, somebody that didn't have rostered students, you would not be a part of that 80%. So what we did last year was we made sure that we kept monies set aside, and that additional monies of $4 million is going to guarantee that everybody that at their 7.5-hour rate will receive no less than $3,000 into that base salary. So if you work more than the 7.5 hours, then of course it would be more than 3,000. But the idea is that the base salary itself would increase $3,000. So if you take a look at it, that is $1,500 from, what was it, 1819? That would be $1,500 for 1920 and $1,500 for 2021. So $4,500 over the last 3 years in the salary minimum. And so we're still looking at different ways to address a couple of things, but that's why when it talks about some of the surpassing or leapfrogging, we're still working on that part. So we'll be coming back on Monday, sending out a notification with everybody. And so if you have any questions, further things you'd like to talk about, please, we'll do an update and email us, okay? Thanks so much.